Boy, oh boy, do I miss Mad Mel. I mean, yes, I can't deny the incidents which ruined his career, but I also can't ignore just how great of an artist he is. Now, I wasn't a Fury Road fanatic. A friend of mine watched the film multiple times in theaters, and it became like a religious experience to the guy, perhaps because of all the Valhalla references, but I just never resonated with it on quite the same level. I enjoyed and recognized its quality, but was otherwise unaffected. So too is it the case with Furiosa, which is well directed and full of good performances, but which also isn't essential viewing. I'm not shocked by the lower than projected box office numbers, and I won't be shocked when it's rushed into home release after a dismal second weekend. Furiosa is a solid revenge epic which follows a character no one cared all that much about from a movie nearly a decade old in a saga sans Max, except for a clumsy CGI cameo I'm happy to spoil here. It's a tough sell, and the response is exactly what I'd have expected. It's astonishing Hollywood missed it. Now, the film is broken into 5 parts and follows young Furiosa all the way up to the events in Mad Max Fury Road. We begin when she was a child living in an Edenic paradise in the wasteland called Green Place of Many Mothers. One day she finds raiders in her paradise and in a vain attempt to sabotage them is kidnapped. Her mother, Mary, gives chase, and the first part of the film is the failed attempt to rescue Furiosa from the clutches of Dementus. Our warlord is in his prime here, virile and in possession of absolute command of his biker horde, and he takes Furiosa as a kind of daughter, in the hope she'll reveal where the place of abundance is located. But Furiosa refuses to utter a word. We jump forward in time and witness Dementus's rise to power and conflict with Immortan Joe, as well as Furiosa's growth into the tough-as-nails woman we saw in Fury Road. The film then digresses into a war between Dementus and Immortan Joe, and a very lame and rushed love story between Furiosa and a man named Praetorian Jack, who is henceforth known as Not Mad Max. These elements would have each been interesting enough to form their own movie, but are given little detail as the story is ultimately all about Furiosa trying to get back to her family and seeking revenge against Dementus. And this is the first weak point for me with Furiosa. It's chock full of stuff that you end up with a lot of lightweight storytelling. Is this film about Furiosa's rise? Is it Dementus's campaign of destruction? Is it a battle of wills between Immortan Joe and Dementus? Is it a love story between Furiosa and Not Mad Max? Does any of that stuff matter if it's given so little attention? The film isn't long enough for all the zigs and zags to be treated properly, and worse still, the most interesting parts of a film called Furiosa are when we follow Dementus, played by Chris Hemsworth, who is also the MVP of the picture. Anya Taylor-Joy's Furiosa doesn't even enter the film until after the first hour, and she was poorly cast in the role made famous by Charlize Theron. Firstly, because Joy has a terrible voice for the character. It's a purely subjective criticism, but I just can't hear her speak and act tough without cringing. Unsurprisingly, Miller thought it best to keep her quiet with so little dialogue. The lack of screen time was also interesting given this is supposedly her story. Maybe he recognized he'd goofed up in the casting and had to make pivots on the fly because the film sparkles and dances with the best of the Mad Max series when Dementus is on screen. Chris Hemsworth absolutely delivers the goods here, and it was quite shocking to see just how good he could be when he wasn't saddled with MCU nonsense. So credit where it's due. Hemsworth is worth watching and could justify the cost of a ticket in this economy. Unfortunately, the CGI this time around is diabolical, and no matter how you approach it, there's just nothing particularly fun about watching an ugly film. At times it felt like I was watching something from Sin City, but without any justification for the artifice. All one had to do was recreate the Fury Road aesthetic and you would have hit a bullseye on the CGI front, so it's very surprising to not see it here. The action scenes are entertaining and very creative, though at no point do they reach the heights of Fury Road, and the best sequences are just a continuation of what you've already seen before. So ultimately, everything great about the film comes from its prodigious budget, everything weak about the film comes from the fact that it isn't a Mad Max story. So I'd personally wait till streaming and watch at your leisure than hustle on over to your local theatre, but if you are in the mood for a prequel spin-off to Mad Max Fury Road, then by all means have at it. Thanks for watching.
At home, Furiosa fought the world.